Nation. We're first going to go to a hospital, an inpatient facility for one of my clinics. We're about to start a brand new study where we need to pre-screen patients in the hospital and then follow them as they get released. So it's really complicated of a study. There's a lot of logistics involved, and because of our relationship with this geriatric hospital, which hopefully I'm going to be able to record a little bit here and there, or at least a little bit of my meetings here and there. And this video is going to be different, just sort of following my day-to-day of going to that hospital, then going to my other clinic, then talking to my site owner academy. Just some examples today of what you can do, and I'm not including any of my CRA stuff. This is all site owner focused stuff, including the site owner academy we're going to teach today. So this will be a good theme for this vlog style video. I apologize for the weird angle, but hopefully the content you find valuable. But this treatment, nothing like this has been done before. So here's the thing. We can pre-screen them here.
Okay.
We can consent them here, and we get the family's consent while they're in the hospital. And then we've got to follow. We have a 45-day window to actually complete the screening visit. Well, the good news is, remember I mentioned that eSource that we're going to switch to? They actually have what's called a CTMS, a clinical trial management system.
Okay.
It's going to show you, and you can log in from any device and see the cash flow, what visits have occurred, how much they're worth. I don't know if it has expenses, but it will at least have the income receivables in there. So Guru Nation, what you're about to watch and mostly listen to, because it was just audio, so you'll just see me driving like in fast forward like a lunatic, although it's not in real time, it's fast forwarded. You'll see or you'll hear some highlights and snippets from our Site Owner Academy today. Normally they're an hour a week, every week for site owners. I think it's our best product by far, but I wanted to give you some highlights because we went like 2 hours on this one, but I wanted to give some highlights related to PI relations, how to find PIs, how to nurture your PIs. They're like plants, right? They're like seeds. Like, you've got to water them, you got to nurture them. Just because you have a PI doesn't mean that they're going to stay with you forever, or that they're just automatically going to be happy. Things go up and down, cycles. This industry is extremely volatile. So you will hear a couple site owners. There were many more, but I'm just putting a few of the highlights because this could have been a 3-hour video. But you'll hear some site owners that are physicians, and another one that is a brand new site owner that is networking with a lot of physicians. So I think there's a lot of interesting takeaways from here for site owners. Whether you're a brand new site owner or even an established site owner like myself, I learned a lot in my own Site Owner Academy today. So I wanted to share that with you. And prior to the audio getting really good and me fast forwarding my driving, you'll see me or hear me go on a rant, and bear with me as the audio for that 3 minutes is not that great, but it's shot from a phone as I'm driving in my car. One of the coordinators came and filmed me, but I think there's a lot of nuggets in there. So stay tuned, let me know what you think, and catch y'all later. Bye-bye. I got something interesting to talk about. We can change gears, because the reason I wasn't on early on is I had a meeting for one of my sites with one of the business partners. You know, here's the thing. There's like a theme in research when you run a site. Right before it gets really good, it's going to be really bad. Meaning there's not going to be any money, but there's going to be a whole bunch of work that's going to be needed to get done. And the only way to make sure everyone's on the same page is really over communicate, like in detail, what is going on, what's the projected revenues, what are the projected expenses, what studies do we have on the pipeline, because these PIs, they're not going to look at all the details, but if you can give them a Cliff Notes version of what's going on a monthly basis, they will take that, and I think it will make the unpleasant times a little easier to stomach. because it happens I've been doing this for 13 years, and every time before it starts getting really good, it gets really bad. Chris and I joke about this at one of our other sites. When the staff starts getting grumpy and when the PI starts getting grumpy because there's a lot of work, it means that we're about to get a whole bunch of revenue and a whole bunch of profits for the site. When they're not complaining, it's actually not a good sign, because that means there's not much work going on, and that's why they're not complaining. So the only way to counteract this, it's just going to happen, this is a natural part of the business, is to over communicate. So somebody's got to get really good with QuickBooks, with Excel, find out what motivates your PI. Maybe it's not money, find out what that is, but in my case it is money. So I've got to do projections, what studies do we have in the pipeline, how many patients do you think we can enroll, from where, like as detailed as you can, because you're ultimately, at the end of the day, I keep saying that everyone's a salesperson. Once you open a clinic, you're now a salesperson. I don't care what your background is. And you oftentimes have to sell to your own business partners or your own principal investigators. Even though you, in theory, shouldn't have to sell to them. They're your partners, but in reality, you have to. So that's what my meeting was about. I'll probably do like a long video on this, but yeah, just wanted to share that. And Chris can attest to the same exact things as far as PIs and workload and their grumpiness is concerned. Because it's really hard to motivate someone to work harder than they ever have when you're not really paying them equivalent of what they're working for, right? So you got to sell them on, 3 months, 6 months down the road, you're going to get paid big time for all this work you've been doing. But right now, you're not going to get paid, but you're going to work a whole bunch. So that's not always an easy sell when you got doctors that are used to making millions of dollars a year. Why should they waste their time on research when they're not getting paid? Well, that's your job as the site owner.
That makes it easier, honestly, because as long as I'm good at communicating, like as long as I let him know, look, it's gonna be roughly this amount of time, then he's gonna know. He's gonna be like, all right, cool, whatever. I just didn't want it to be like completely like I have no idea. Could be 6 months, could be a year, could be whenever. Then like nobody likes that. But if you give them just like an estimate, a time, 3 months, you'd be like, all right, 3 months. Let me know in 3 months.
Yeah, I don't think you could ever go wrong over communicating. And again, every PI is going to be different. My guy's very money motivated, but yours might be like procedure. Maybe they want to do like academic stuff or become a KOL. Whatever it is, just sell them on that. I mean, all those things come with doing well at a research site, and none of that happens without them putting in some work. So just tell them, hey, this is how it is. I mean, but this is why I'm not paying you a salary, because you're going to get more with a percentage. And it helps me manage my cash flow better so that we don't go out of business.
It's an industry where most doctors are not really aware of what's going on. And coming from the doctor point of view, a, doc, a doctor usually is somebody that has a good sense of delayed gratification. The the training itself is pretty long, so you just have to explain it. Don't be afraid of going towards a doctor. That's how I actually found out about clinical trials, actually, and got me interested in this whole thing and getting in touch with Dan and Chris. Y- Um, we just need to come along somebody that can actually explain things and tell us, okay, this is what we're dealing with. We have the patience to learn, and oftentimes, the exception is actually finding the doctor that's actually business savvy. Everybody wants money, but it's hard for a lot of people to understand the idea of an investment, the idea of putting time into something and seeing it flourish. So you may not find a true business partner at first, but once money starts rolling in, like you said, eventually you find out that it's probably a situation you want to stay in, and then the relationships can evolve, or the relationship can just deteriorate at that point because they figure out, they want another role in that. So there's it's just a word of encouragement to just like not give up and figure out, okay, all of us are whiners or whatnot. Do what you got to do to get your study going, and but as long as you explain things, and usually there should be people to work and different personalities. I mean, just like what you explained with the CRAs, there's some that don't know what they're doing. Unfortunately, there are doctors that are out there that are lazy, and there are doctors that may not be as proficient as they claim they are. So there's a mixture of everything in this world, and you just got to work your luck and see who you get. You may fall upon me, and then you meet somebody that just likes to get busy and likes to get detail oriented, and you can get somebody else that just does not care. Period. Set up the expectation. I mean, one thing doctors are aware of. I mean, think about it. We have medical licenses. We have regulation, and we usually follow three different types of regulation. I'll tell you, there's a core itself. The medical core has a set of rules, how we communicate, when we're expected to do certain things, and that kind of stuff. That's just what's layman's understanding of what a doctor is. Then there's the actual medical board that you abide by. If you're certified and you have a medical board, you know that to pass that exam, they made sure if you saw hypertension, you would do this first and you do that second. So there's those rules. And then there's the legalese rules. You end up finding in order to practice, you got to stay clear of the lawyers, or else you get sued and you lose the money you made yesterday. So we know that there's always rules to follow. So if you come up the bat, I mean, if you wait too long, you will mess up that opportunity. You have to come up front and say, hey, now that you're interested, now that you see the carrot on the stick and you want to go get it, we got to follow the rules or else we get in trouble. I'm going to give you this email. And then, if I send you an email, you got to respond to it, or else if you don't respond to it, this is what happens. If you don't lay out the rules initially, the rules of engagement, you're going to mess up. So it's better to just tell them up front. And then from there on, they can tell you what's their frequency. I mean, I don't need to be told twice. If you tell me this is how it is, I actually hate when you come back and you change it. So if you tell me the way we communicate is by email or by text, and then we shake hands on it, me personally, I hate when you come back and you don't do it. And I tell you, why didn't you do it? Well, yesterday I sent you an email and I said, no, you said you were going to send me a text if you had any issues. And when I do mean to people, I said, you can wake me up at night, and they don't. I told them, didn't I tell you can wake me up at night? So that's where we get a little bit different, and there's other people, they will do whatever they want. But again, if you give the rules of engagement up front and you tell them these are the rules, these are sine qua non rules you cannot break, they will follow up. Most of them, 80%. It's like anything. A mechanic is supposed to check your oil pressure, your Freon level and all that stuff. If he doesn't do it, it's because he's not a good mechanic. But the good ones always follow the rules. So when you screen, yes, you want to have that PI, but I will go for a PI that can follow the rules. And some of the rules are very blatant. I mean, the clues are blatant. Get yourself somebody that's board certified. If they were board certified and they haven't, kept up with their stuff, it may be a problem. Invest in getting a provider database query. I think it costs like $20. If you do a database query on a provider, you find out if they ever actually filed or there were ever a claim filed against them. So it's basically if anybody has ever sued and got paid or not paid, you will know. It's part of the doctor's record. It's a federal database. You can get it for $20. If they claim they don't know how to, they're lying, because every time you have to apply for insurance or whatever, we get it. And I can give you an idea. I mean, if you get a guy that's really interested, he wants a lot of money, but he's been sued 20 times in the last 4 years. That tells you maybe he doesn't follow the rules. He doesn't, stick, to the plan, and then problems happen because doctors don't usually get sued. There's a lot of lawsuits, but it's a few. The majority of doctors do not get sued, and there's not a payment against them. Now, if you see a doctor that got a claim, but there was no payments, that happens. It happens a lot. People are vindictive. They want to hurt a doctor, but they won't win, because typically in the court of law, people understand a doctor is not God, and he tries his or her best. So there's clues. It's not the only. It's like your credit score. If you get a credit score, it doesn't mean the guy is a bad payer, but maybe he had a bad run, for a year. Mama died or daddy died, and he missed work, and then he couldn't pay work. He was depressed, couldn't pay the bills. Things happen. but you can always elicit patterns early on with just a minimum of investment. And just like you said, somebody said at one point, somebody didn't show up on time, and certain things happen. I mean, the writing's on the wall. Just look at all those little details. How long it takes them to communicate with you. How busy their practice is. I mean, are they taking a day to see 20 patients, or they're taking a day to see 40? If it's a very vibrant practice and people keep on coming back, then okay, this is a guy that puts his all or her all into something, and then it works. So it's more like an investigation game, and the clues are not always the ones that are out there, but they're more subtle. But the more objective ones, it's like I said, a database issue. Nowadays, you have Google, you have Doximity. Rarely do I see a doctor that gets Google, and then you see the practice, and then a whole lot of people are just bashing the doctor. If that happens, it usually happens for hospitals, but people usually love the doctors. They depend on the doctors. They won't spend time going on Google and writing stuff about it. And then if that happens, make them aware of this. Hey, what do you think about this Google comment? There's like 5 comments saying that you're a vampire and then you kill people. So. That's my 2 cents. That's my 2 cents, guys. I hope it lifts spirits up. But there's a lot of us out there. I talked to at least 4 doctors since I and my partner took the project of starting our own site, and there's a lot of people that are interested. There's nurse practitioners, because it's a new field for us. It's not like we know about it, but we have not been made aware of the possibilities for us to play a role in it. I knew about research on the academic level, but I was never approached to run differently clinical trials. So there's a lot of people out there that are well qualified and very professional that could be a breeze to work with, but you just got to go and get them. You got to network. You got to do what Dan says and try to find them.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, thanks for
Okay.
sharing. I mean, that's really
I got
good.
a funny story. So, I live in Michigan, and I'm kind of next to the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. So I got an email for SOCRA that at the University of Michigan they're gonna have a SOCRA meeting. So I said, "Oh my God, this is just when I moved here." So I said, "This is the best time to network. I'm gonna get PIs. I'm gonna get everybody." So I went there. I dressed up. I had a suit. I walked in the meeting. It was inside the university, and I'm listening to them speak. And as time goes by, I realize it's like a academic clinical research, and they're having like a staff meeting. And I walked in a staff meeting, and all of them were employees for the University of Michigan, and they were just working on like academic studies because the University of Michigan has like a really good medical program. So I the meeting finished, and I was like, well, I don't know, should I network? Are these people staff, employees? So then they asked if anybody had questions. So I stood up. I introduced myself. I said, I'm looking for a PI to help me. I just gave this like whole speech, right? And it was kind of like, I kind of like was in the moment. So I was really animated. I was explaining like what I could offer, this and that. And they all looked at me like I'm crazy. None of them know what the hell I was talking about. Like, what are you talking about? What is this? Where are you from? Where did you work? And it turns out most of them didn't. It was weird. They didn't know that our side, industry clinical research, existed. They were just enveloped in academia. And then they thought I was crazy. And they're like, "Oh, look, we can't help you, man." And I was like, "Oh."
Well, if I were you, I would focus, like, look into, like you said, the University of Michigan. They have residents. The residents that are about to graduate every July, they probably put out, dozens doctors ready to go out and practice on their own. These are doctors that are going to be at the bottom of the line when it comes to be getting paid. It's just like you said, they don't have no experience. So when you start, it's still good, but you don't get the big bucks yet. So these are doctors that are going to want to supplement their income. Okay, so usually it's public knowledge. You can find out when they will have a work fair or for the resident. So that's when all the different practices from around the state, or sometimes even beyond, come to them and then try to like pitch him a job. And then it's free. You don't have to pay to get there. So you can set up shop there. And those residents, at that point, they're all MDs. They're all looking for a job. And then they're circulating that room, going from booth to booth to booth. And then when they come to you, you can tell them, hey, I don't want to hire you. I want you to put you in control of this. And then you can work your pitch on that. And then you give them a free pen or give them a business card, and then they move on. And, it's like the rule of anything. You just want 10% to call you back. And out of the 10% of the people that call you back are probably going to stick with you.
No, I think you hit it on the head. I mean, another thing you can do is constantly recruit new doctors, because, yeah, even when the money gets good, like you were sharing earlier, they could want to go out and do it on their own. Or if the money's not good and they run out of patients, let's say they run out of their patients, like they don't want to spend any more time doing this. Well, they're leaving because the money's bad, right? But they could also leave because the money's good.
And by the way, this happens not only in this field. The turnover of doctors in hospitals is huge. It's hard for hospitals to keep a doctor more than 2 years nowadays. Our typical contract lasts a year, and it's turning out to be the same even for those practices, because most hospitals are buying out those practices now. So doctors are turning out to be more salaried people with a high income, that what they call high earning providers, high earning workers, as opposed to the traditional way back in the day where you get a loan from Bank of America and then you find a spot and you open your shop. Now the hospitals own that. They own all of these practices, and they're hiring doctors as they get trained. Most doctors do not stay more than 2 years in a contract. I'm living proof. My friends are living proof. This new generation, they got a shift mentality head. They're not going to stay in one spot unless the salary keeps on going higher and higher and higher. So that's the game everybody plays, and nobody's retaining anybody. So put yourself in the hospital shoes that has millions of dollars at the disposal, and hiring those providers as high earner workers, and figure out you got to play that game. You got to be able to always be on the recruiting side. Always, 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 or else you fall.